grab a cup of joe and let's gather round that hay bale. With your hosts, Ann from Andale Homestead, Cayce from Ormsby Farms, Monica from Bland's Promised Land Ranch, and Sandi from Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona. Here they are. Hey, y'all, hey.
Hey, y'all, hey, it's Ann with Andale Homestead.
Hello, everyone. It is Cayce over at Ormsby Farms.
And I'm Monica at Bland's Promised Land Ranch.
And this is Sandi with Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona.
Okay, so you guys are here for the next episode. And before we get started, I would like to remind you that if you are listening to us on any of those podcast platforms, you can come and see our smiling faces while we do this podcast episode. We actually are over there on YouTube, and you can definitely go and find us there. We're going to be here on Mondays when you're listening in, if you want to see us or see what we're doing, because sometimes we show you things. So definitely come over and check us out on YouTube. And then don't forget to check us out on Tuesdays, because we're back on Tuesdays for a live in the evening. So if you're interested, we're on YouTube too. Don't forget Round the Hay Bale with an R, round, not a round, but Round the Hay Bale. So, okay, today's episode, Zero Waste Kitchen. Sandi, what do you got for us? Zero waste. I mean, like, what is the premise of zero waste? Can you start off maybe with an explanation?
Well, sure. I found a great definition of a zero waste kitchen, and it says, it's a kitchen that aims to minimize waste by utilizing sustainable practices and reducing the amount of waste generated from cooking, food storage, and everyday activities. And I thought that really just sets it off all the way around. What can we do to make it so that we're not wasting things in our kitchen? Because we're Americans. We waste stuff. That's just the facts. Sorry. Don't mean to offend anybody.
That's very true.
But every single day, there's things that you can do. Like Joe and I were realizing that we were wasting water in our kitchen. So because I don't have a dishwasher, I do my dishes by hand. I bought 2 tubs to fit in my soapy water, my rinse water. It's piping hot the whole time that I'm doing the dishes. I basically am using 3 gallons of water total. That's a good way to save water. And you're figuring that you're doing dishes once or twice a day the entire year, it adds up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, Ann, tell me something you can do with a zero waste kitchen.
Well, what we were doing for the longest time, when we had any kind of containers that we were using, y'all, I'm guilty. I used to microwave mashed potatoes sometimes. I mean, they're not bad if you add a lot of butter and a lot of salt, okay? But they come in all these plastic dishes of various things. And instead of throwing those away, we recycle those. Not only do we put them, eventually we will put them in a plastic bin in our trash dump, because we don't have trash pickup at our home. We have to take our trash off, and then it is separated in various bins when you go there. But that's been very helpful for us to understand that, there are all kinds of uses. We can plant seeds in them, have little mini gardens, have our greens, the microgreens in there as well, which is wonderful. And so that's just an example. And what do you do, Cayce, in your kitchen that you're trying to help minimize the trash that goes in your trash can?
Well, I'll tell you, when I looked at our schedule and saw that we were recording this tonight, I got actually really excited because, listen, I said it before we started recording. I don't always practice what I preach on the podcast, but I'm really trying hard to do this zero waste. And one of the ways that I love to do is when you're cutting up vegetables, whatever vegetables you're cutting up, save the little cutoff parts. And I like to make a veggie broth, because then I can can it and have it for the winter for soup times. So not necessarily wasting all that stuff. And then, of course, when you pull it out, once you've boiled it and it's all what looks like mushy disaster, your chickens, depending on what it is, your chickens love that kind of stuff. They're like, score for the chickens. So that's one. And talking about plastic, I am awful about water bottles, um, Dr. Pepper cans or bottles, and buying I think me and Monica are the only ones that have our the Soda Stream. That is the way that I'm able to get my little soda fix, but not waste so much, because it's a reusable bottle that you use all the time. I use it to make lemonades, all the stuff. So reusing, not throwing away Coca-Cola bottles every day, because we all know, if you've watched Miss Ann for a while, her treat's a nice cold Coca-Cola. And I think she has one in her glass right now. But it's a good way to save on all that plastic that you're throwing away, because you don't really know how much you're really throwing away until you look at it and you're like, oh my goodness, did I really waste 12 of these water bottles in 3 days? So that's just one way. What about you, Monica? What does Bland's family of football team do for zero waste kitchens?
Okay, so I have recently, now that my kids are a little older, I have recently changed all of my plastic stuff. I've really changed almost all of my plasticware, and I've changed it to glass storage containers. I didn't do glass when I was younger, when my family was younger, because it's easy. And let me tell you right now, I'm a glass magnet. So if we break glass, it could be in the living room, we could break glass, and I could be in the kitchen. And by the end of the night, that little teeny tiny microscopic shard will find its way into my body somehow. So I am, my kids will even be like, Mom, we broke glass. Don't go near it. I'm like, it's going to happen. I'm going to find it. If it's on the floor, I'm going to find it. So we started really transferring everything over to glass instead of the plastics. And that's really not easy for me, because I used to be a Tupperware lady. So I'm just saying, it wasn't an easy transition. Okay. But we also use like the beeswax wraps. I've been trying to use those. I buy the bags for the bread as I'm making my own bread and bagels and stuff now. We're not using the big plastic bags. We're using like bread bags that are reusable. And then we do buy cans, like aluminum. Now, I think, Sandi, you don't use aluminum, do you?
No.
Yeah. So we do have aluminum cans here in the house sometimes. And my in-laws actually drink like aluminum. They'll drink like the Waterloo, the bubblies, the things in aluminum cans. Anytime we have aluminum anywhere around, my 15-year-old will take it, and he recycles that. We don't have recycling here. We get trash pickup. But one of the things that he does is he recycles that. And he's been able to do that for the last 2 years. And he's done pretty well with getting some side cash. So we are really intentional about recycling and using that aluminum and stuff. One other thing we do is, if we have water bottles, 2-liter bottles, or like, let's just say we buy a 2-liter bottle, a couple of them for a party or something, especially for like a big party. If we're making, we make our teas and things like that, but sometimes we'll buy 2-liter bottles. We take those and we save those and put water in them, and we freeze them for our rabbits in the summer, or for the chickens in the summer. So animals that are put in cages or that are kind of confined, you can take those frozen water bottles and stick them in their spaces at nighttime or daytime, and it'll help cool their body temperature down. So we do that here. Obviously we're in Texas, so it's pretty. And I know that the water bottles really come in handy for some of those animals. So that's some of the ways that we try to be zero waste, besides the obvious, which is composting, because we have a composted bin in our kitchen, and it's super nasty and I hate it, but it's there.
Do you?
It's so gross. Like, seriously, y'all. Like, Sandi, you have a really fancy one, don't you?
Well, in Wyoming, I have an electric composter. And it takes maybe 5 hours to do the whole thing, and it's just fabulous. I love it. But down here in Arizona, I didn't bring it with me. And then a neighbor came and said, "Hey, I got this under the counter composter. Would you like to have it?" Now, this one is not electric, but it's just this little one, and it's got a charcoal filter in there, so there's no smells.
That's awesome.
It does it take longer? Sure it does. But I don't smell any odor whatsoever. So I think it just depends on what you're using, because Anne has one too.
I do. I have one beside me that was given to us. It's just it's like a little mini trash can, but it is a composter, like a kitchen composter. And instead of it going in the trash and eventually in the landfill, then all of our extras go into the little composter, and then we can put it out in the yard, feed it to the chickens, or give it in the compost.
Y'all are so good. Can I just say that y'all are so good because I have the best intentions about having countertop composters, and I do really good for like 2 weeks and 2 videos. And then it is a good old solid wrap, and Casey's forgetting. So
See, that's why we have
always practice.
Yeah. See, that's why we have the little countertop one that hangs off to the edge of our drawer because I don't
I've
have
seen those.
counter space to spare.
Yeah.
And so I didn't. And if I put it under, like Sandy, if you put it under the counter, nobody remembers it.
Right.
So
Oh, yeah.
so we got to like stick it right on the counter, right where my like thickness, like when my hips walk past it, it bumps into it. So sometimes I'll be walking past it and my thick hips will be ending up with some like coffee
Stuff.
grind on my hip. Like
Right.
that's how we have to keep it in our house. But it gets used and it gets dumped. But if we don't
Right.
dump it basically every day because there's so many of us, then
Right.
I walk past, I'm like, yo, I don't want to smell that. So we try to get it out every day. But it's nice because it does really work helpful. It's very helpful for our garden and we
Yes.
need the compost.
It is.
So it's
It
really
is.
helpful.
It is.
Yeah.
Well,
And, oh, I'm sorry, Ann.
no, go ahead, Sandy.
Well, I'm just thinking, what can the average person do to reduce, to make it closer to a zero waste kitchen? Now,
Right.
there's different aspects of that. And we can talk about both aspects about actual food, vegetables, using every single part of the vegetable. And then the other part that, like, Monica is making everything glass, getting rid of your paper towels, your paper plates, plastic forks. You can make things yourself. You can make your own towels and napkins, and actually,
You can.
once you get the hang of it, once you start doing it, it just becomes a routine.
Mhm.
And I mean, how many of us use recyclable grocery bags when we go to the grocery store?
Right.
See
Yeah,
that?
I
Only
do.
because I'm bougie. Yeah.
I only do it because I buy in bulk. So when I buy
Yeah.
everything in bulk, I'm putting in big bags. And usually that's, yeah.
I
Okay,
do.
how many of you have silicone food bags? Do you know what those are?
Oh,
Instead of using
Ziplocs,
Ziploc
right?
bags,
Uh-huh.
it's like a Ziploc bag, only it's made out of
Okay.
silicone
Yeah.
that lasts forever, that you just reuse. But I have
Right.
a girlfriend that, because they're kind of spendy, honestly.
Mhm.
I
But
think they should
she,
send us some to try.
Yeah,
I'm-
Yeah.
we need to share.
we'll
with
test her out. Sharing is caring.
but my girlfriend, she washes her Ziploc bags. She
I do
washes them
too.
in when she's doing dishes. She puts them in the drying rack,
Yes.
and she uses them several times before she throws them away.
I
And
did
so
that.
that's just one more way not to have the waste. One thing I would suggest to everybody: all of us have things in our kitchen that we never use anymore, right? Um,
Mm.
you go through phases and you think this little gadget or this little thing was a great thing in your kitchen. But why not have your community have a kitchen swap?
Oh,
Your friends, your family, and you just bring these things and go, I don't use them anymore. Can any of you use them? But they might have a tool in their kitchen that they don't use, but you could use. And then you're not buying. And you're
Right.
basically recycling it through your neighborhood or your tribe.
well, what a cool idea.
That's a great idea.
I
Because
wouldn't
I'm
even-
known for
Mm.
gadgeting. Buying a gadget and then the next year it's like I still love my Instapot. Do not get me wrong. I want the listeners to know, still love it. But maybe you shouldn't have bought all 3 sizes. Because I mean, I'm a family of one.
Yeah.
There's no need for what is it, the 8-quart, which is the big one, or
3 size Instapot.
yes. And they
See,
don't-
my people give me a hard time when they're like, Mom, how many Instant Pots do you have? And I'm like, we don't need to discuss this. Are you happy you eat food? That's all you need to know.
right.
I
You-
just haven't gotten into the Instapot yet. I haven't.
Well,
I love the
they can double as a slow cooker, and they have a nice metal, metal insert, which is really nice too, because sometimes those coated inserts for your crock pots, unless you have a metal crock pot, the inserts are that like coating, and
Yeah.
I've had several crock pots where the coating starts to peel off, and
Yeah,
I don't like
okay.
it. So, yeah.
So,
Well, oh, sorry, Ann. We keep on.
No.
Everybody keeps on jumping on Ann.
No, it's okay. It's all right. I love the idea of the switcheroos on the things that you may have to be able
Yes.
to share with others because I am definitely a trash to treasure kind of gal, I can tell you. And I used to wash all of my Ziploc bags because those things are expensive.
They're very
But
expensive.
the thing that made me feel and I mean it may be silly, and I'm sure most everybody else does, but we grow a lot of tomatoes in our garden.
Mhm.
And so I felt so homesteady and wonderful and no waste when I would bring those tomatoes in and then you core them and peel them. And I was able to use every single piece of that tomato to be able to utilize things, to be able to make whatever you're going to can as far as tomato products, but to use those peelings to dehydrate them and make my own tomato paste powder, which was
Yeah.
so cool. And I thought, I got that going on.
Whoop, whoop. Well,
But
Yeah,
I
go
was
ahead.
going to say, Sandy, when you mentioned paper plates, and I know that Anne and Monica both made paper plate faces. That was actually one of the when I decided I wanted to be, as Anne put it, homesteady.
Yeah.
That was like the first thing because I was paper plates all day because I did not want to wash dishes. But now I'm super bougie to where I don't even like paper napkins. I have all cloth napkins. It's
Oh,
just washing. It's easier. It's easier to do it that way. And Monica knows. Monica's been to the farm. She knows the deal. She knows the bouge.
I think the problem with this, and I do agree, if you want to be zero or low waste, let's say I'm more of a low waste kitchen, I have a hard time with paper plates and the paper napkins because we have a high water yield here. We use quite a bit of water
Mhm.
on a regular basis just with animals and everything. And for me, I haven't really figured the cost out. That's like a Sandi and Cayce thing, like cost wise. But for a large family, the difference in the amount of water that it costs to just run all those all those dishes through and wash all those plates as many times as we eat for as many people are here, or running the water to wash all the laundry. Look, I don't need any extra laundry because even when 2020 hit and people were like, if we don't get toilet paper, I'm like, bro, if we don't get toilet paper, we can use family cloth. And all I kept thinking in my brain was, Lord help me, I'm gonna have to wash all that junk because I don't want to wash anymore. Like
right.
my
I
septic
got
was
you.
like, yo, lady, you need to knock it off. Like,
Yeah.
so needless to say, for us, some of the paper things stick around. I will make changes other places because I do buy in bulk and we really do use all of it. And if we're not eating all of our food, we're taking so we'll buy larger quantities. So we have less small plastic containers that we take the larger quantities, we freeze, we reuse, we divide up as a family. And when we have leftovers, if our leftovers are starting to go bad, maybe this is super taboo. So if you don't like to feed your pigs or your chickens or any of your animals leftovers, then earmuffs. But we give, as long as it's not molded, we will give our leftover food stuff minus pork. We don't feed pork to pigs. We're not animals. But we do feed all of our scraps to our pigs.
Or
Like
can
we do. They don't get pepperoni and sausages, but they be getting some steaks that maybe you've been in the fridge for too long or whatever. I mean, if it's past the point where my kids or my husband's going to eat it, the pigs get it or the chickens get it. And we try to make sure we're not wasting any of that. Like I hate throwing food away.
And also, like paper napkins and paper plates, isn't that a good fire starter, Pyro Granny?
It absolutely is.
So
Yes.
you're kind of using it as like that's kind of a zero waste.
There you
It
go.
is.
I'm trying to help
And
y'all out, but I'm still
Yeah.
all glass plates.
we do have a burn barrel that we try very hard to put our paper products in.
We do that with our burn barrel too. All of our paper stuff goes into our burn barrel.
So, but I mean, that's not really good for the air. But
how many of you meal plan? Do you make a list and these are the meals I'm going to have this week and these are the groceries I have to get?
Yeah.
I do it for the month.
Yeah. And
wow.
the nice thing about that is that you can you can look at that list. Okay, I'm making chicken, like I'm roasting into chicken. What can I do with the extra stuff? I can
Right.
make soup, I can make sandwiches, I can make a casserole. And if I have extra, I could freeze it. All of us have electric pressure canners. We can always
Mhm.
put the extra in the jars.
Mhm.
And food scraps like Casey does, I like, if I'm busy, I just put those food scraps that I can use into soups. I throw them in the freezer until I have more of a chance to use them.
Right.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah. So that was another thing too. I think we did a whole series on it, making your own like soaps and stuff too. I mean,
Mhm.
that's one way you can do
Right.
zero waste, is making more of your soap products and things like that. Because when you make that, you have less of those plastic bottles coming in, and you're
Right.
able to keep them in different, quantities that are appropriate maybe for your home or glass or whatever. So
Mhm. It is. It's a great idea if someone would like to. I used to keep a large container in our freezer, and every time we would have some peas or corn or tomatoes or butter beans or any kind of vegetables for dinner, and we'd have. You always have that spoonful that's left that you're full of no, it's too little bit to put away to eat later. I just dump it, juice and all, seasoning and everything, right in that container, and
Mhm.
that is the best soup starter that you
Yes.
just add some meat to it or not. And it's amazing soup starter. So that's another idea that we could
Yeah.
do.
And
It's
freezer
good.
dumping soups is always good. If you have leftover, like the veggies, like you said, the one spoonful or the fourth
Mhm.
of a cup left, and at the end of the month, you do a freezer, what they call freezer dump of the soup, and it's all those veggies. Now, sometimes it can taste a little wonky. Uh, for the most part, it should taste good. So that's a way of getting your scraps down.
Yeah, but don't you think that zero waste kitchen, the whole idea of it is changing your mindset?
Hmm.
Now, I was telling Ann and Casey before we started, something to do. Now, maybe you have to be a little brave to do this, is every once in a while, you should go through your trash, and you would be surprised at how I didn't realize I threw this many things away in this week. you
Hmm.
know um I could have put that in my compost. I could have taken that and probably made a soup out of it. um
Right.
did I What am I doing with this junk mail that I threw in the trash can? Like, we take our junk mail, and on the back side of it, that's where I write my grocery list, and I just have it on a magnet on the refrigerator. So at least it's going through a little bit more work than just before it goes into the trash can.
Right.
Right. Right. Yeah, and I had shared a good dear friend of mine, Jane, that has since passed away, but she started recycling probably 20 something years ago in our local town. She started the recycling movement that we have here, and working with the town to try to have recycle containers and so forth. But that woman, she didn't throw away hardly anything. They didn't have chickens or anything like that, but I can tell you they started the first compost bin I'd ever seen. There was not an old towel that had holes in it because she cut up the towel and used it for dishcloths and rags and things like that. She washed out every can, every cat food can that they had, and made sure that she put it in the aluminum section, for future use. So they had very little actual trash, and that's a goal. That's a goal to be able to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
what?
Oh,
Oh, go
sorry,
ahead. I'm
Lauren.
sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say on the can thing, one of the things that we do with our number 10 cans, those really big ones, we use them for scoops or egg collections. So if I'm going around, a friend of ours always asks for a big can. She says, "Hey, if you have any big cans, I'll take them," because she goes around and collects all her eggs, and she'll keep her eggs in the big number 10 cans for the day. Depending on what day it is, she'll keep her cans kind of separated, so she knows this was Monday's eggs, this was Tuesday's, and she keeps them
Okay.
separated and collects them that way, so she knows what to pull from first, because she can kind of have just enough for that can. But we'll clean them out and use them for scoops for feed, because you don't need the plastic feed scoops. We use them for that, and we use any of our extra like we'll go to the local stores and grab like the big like pickle jar, the pickle like 5-gallon buckets. We'll get them from places that are emptying, and we'll either use them for something, either scraps in our kitchen, or we'll use them to ferment our feed and things like that. So reusing those containers that you're using in your house or in, it's definitely helpful.
Yeah. And sometimes if you buy the bigger containers of like dish soap and you just have a pump that's a glass pump that's on your right by your kitchen, then you're only using one big plastic container
Right.
versus buying multiple ones all the time. And so there's things that you can change your mindset on. My youngest daughter, she lives in a fairly larger town. She doesn't have a garden right now, but she has food waste. And she was just hating to just end up throwing that out.
Right.
And she found a gal who is a homesteader. And she, once a week, she comes into town. She has all these clean 5-gallon buckets. She has a whole network of people now. They take the clean bucket. They bring their bucket that had all of their food scraps in. She feeds it to some of to her animals, some to her compost pile. And it's just a cycle. And I thought that some of the people that listen here aren't homesteaders, but they like those ideas. And the idea of throwing away those food scraps that they haven't been able to use. Maybe you can find a homesteader or a gardener that does a lot with composting, that maybe you can do that same thing on a small scale.
It's absolutely ingenious to do that. It's wonderful. How in the world they hooked up is amazing to me. That's fantastic.
Well, they actually hooked up through there's a all natural food store.
Okay.
And the gal had a notice.
Oh,
so there's things you can do.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. That's good. Well, we also, as well, for chicken scraps that are really like the stems of your broccoli or things that you're probably not going to put in your soup container. And we put it in a 5-gallon bucket and cover it with water and put a lid on it. Put a little bit of fish emulsion in there. And it's the best, we call it super juice. It's the best fertilizer for the garden you'd ever want to see. It is kind of like feeding your plants back to themselves. You're feeding your garden with that. And it's wonderful. It's really good super juice to be able to use. And I feel good about it because then I'm not throwing things away. So that always makes me feel good.
Well, that's the same thing if you eat fish, saving the bones. As nasty and gross as that sounds, making your own fish emulsion or fish tea or for the fertilizer, it truly is the best juice for your garden. Huh?
Stinks so bad. Oh,
yes, it does.
So bad. It's so bad.
Well, one of the things I was thinking too, if you are, let's just say you're not a homesteader and you're trying to kind of reduce, but maybe you're not ready to give up your paper plates yet or your napkins. One of the things you could do is maybe you drink coffee or you drink tea. If you have those K cups, you could go back to using, maybe making a full pot of coffee or using so the K cups actually have these there's these plastic, I'm saying plastic, but it's a plastic thing that basically what you do is you fill it up and then stick it in your K cup area and it situates itself in there. So it's constantly being able to be reused. You don't have to throw it away after every one. You can just put your loose coffee in it. So we have a machine that does the K cups, or the singles and the full pot. So I'll buy a big bag of coffee. And if Eric just wants to do a single, he can make a single. And the same thing with tea, right? If you buy all the tea bags, now tea bags, obviously you can recycle all the things, but maybe you buy the loose leaf tea and you have your little tea dangler thing you put in your cups. I mean, just little things like that can really reduce the waste in your home. If that's something you're wanting to do and you maybe don't live on a farm or aren't connected with someone, you can do those little things to make a difference.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And y'all, we are jumping up on our 30 minutes right there, but do not worry, because I think we're going to continue this conversation on the next episode. We're going to have all four of us pick one item out of our kitchen food-wise and talk about the different ways to use it to do a zero waste kitchen. So we're going to talk about that on next week's episode. So you won't want to miss it. But until then, make sure you are liking and subscribing and following us on all the social medias. And come on back tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern. So that's
Sure.
all the different times. I'm not going to
7
do the math
Central.
on that. There you go. And come and join us for a Hey Y'all Hey radio show where we're going to talk about this episode. And we'd love to hear what you are doing in your kitchen to do a zero waste kitchen, whether you're a homesteader or not. But until next episode, we'd like to say thank you again for coming in, and we will see you on the next episode. Bye, y'all. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, Monica, did you know it's now even easier to listen to Around the Hay Bale podcast?
What? Really? How easy?
That's right. All you have to do is say, Alexa, play Round the Hay Bale podcast.
Playing Round the Hay Bale podcast on Apple Music.
Ooh, we're really fancy now.
Tune in to Round the Hay Bale every Monday at 9 a.m. Central Time.